When they say something is happening, do not tell them it was their mistake. Because if you're looking for information, then allow them to tell it to you, process it. Take your time, process it, and then think of the best way to handle, but not to put them at the center and now start telling them, it was your mistake. What were you doing there? Remember the why things I've said. Why did you tell me? Why did you go there? Why did you allow yourself? Because they are vulnerable. Probably those are those are the people who cause, especially now the sexual trauma. There are people who are known to them. Actually, those people are just a yard away. So they could be within your space. You could all be seated in the same space where you're asking your child. So also make sure that the environment you're asking these questions is conducive, because if the person perpetrating this is the person seated on that corner, there is no answer you're going to get from here. Get moments we call mom and dad time moments. Go away, be somewhere, just have this conversation. So listen to your child, be compassionate with them, and let them know that it was not their mistake. So next time they will open up to you. And also do not tell them you understand, especially when it's coming to an adult or an adolescent. Don't tell them you understand. You've not been there unless you've been there genuinely. Don't tell them that I understand. Show them compassion. Let them know that it was not their mistake. Then be ready to work with them.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. Dominic Kamau Mwangi. What are how does childhood or any other form of trauma, let's talk about childhood because that's why we're here. How does it manifest itself?
Okay. So it can manifest itself in different ways. So let's say I created a summary there, but we'll figure.
Okay.
So brain.
Okay.
Let's start with the brain.
Yes.
So the brain of a traumatized child tends to be smaller.
Okay.
And the maturation, so you can have a child who is 7-year-old with an emotional maturity of a 2-year-old.
Right.
And sometimes you're having this 7-year-old in class 1 or 2, and the school is expecting them to behave like a 7-year-old.
Yes.
But this kid has a maturity of 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And so this only intensifies the incapacity to fit in. So relationships. Your capacity to maintain and sustain relationships.
Yes.
The tendency towards mental illness, anxiety,
Yes.
depression, aggression. All these are manifestations.
Yes.
So in terms of your self-regulation, you have very poor self-regulation, which sometimes can manifest itself like in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So so that could be one of it.
Yes.
But others that people ignore are the psychosomatic illnesses. That children who have had traumatic experiences have higher tendencies of diabetes, stroke. Children, lung cancer, drug abuse, they have higher chances of developing some type of cancer. So there are a variety of psychosomatic illness that come because of the manner in which they develop. So they do cut across many ways that trauma can manifest itself, and as I've mentioned, from the psychosomatic to the brain development itself, where the brain is smaller and some areas of the brain do not develop properly, to the way they express the emotions, as I mentioned, to lower capacity in learning, lower IQ. So all these could be manifestations of trauma.
Right. Joy, quickly, I'd want to know. And I read a comment that really, I was really concerned.
Yes.
She said that some of the things she went through, she can only take them to the grave. It's actually on my Facebook somewhere, and I'd like her, if you're watching this, please reach out. What are the consequences of unaddressed or piled trauma?
Well, as it is, if it is piled, it graduates.
Yes.
It grows.
Yes.
It becomes a monster. And when it becomes a monster, that's what we call
PTSD.
PTSD. And so what happens at this point?
Can I shine on that?
Yes, please.
PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. Go on, Joy.
Thank you, Wangari.
You're welcome.
Yes. So it graduates, and when it is at that point, some of the things we are talking about are also present in an adult.
Yes.
Who is expressing these symptoms or showing these symptoms. They have relational problems, and they get to a place where not just relational problems, but they are not able to function.
Yes.
They are not able to connect.
Yes.
They do not start and finish things, even at work.
Yeah.
You notice that they will have these gaps consistently. They have these gaps and you can't figure out what it is exactly.
Yes.
Expressing themselves, they withdraw consistently in relationships. So that is what manifests progressively. So what can we do about it?
Yes.
Of course, this is one way.
Yeah.
Having this conversation.
Right.
Creating spaces where people can talk.
Right.
Even if we do not have one-on-ones with the people who have spoken today,
yes.
something has happened.
Of course.
You know, something has happened right there, that they had a platform to share. And others can hear and relate.
Right.
And start thinking, oh, so somebody else had the same experience. So it's possible to actually get healing.
Yes.
So it's possible to get support. So this is a space where we are helping people manage and address
yes.
What they've been going on.
Right.
Again, what was the question?
The question was, what are the consequences of unaddressed trauma, and which you have answered very well.
I hope I have.
Yes. Thank you, Joy. Nancy, very quickly, because I'm told our time is short. Do children have boundaries? And number 2, do parents need consent from children? I'm asking this because I read a post on Facebook. A friend of mine had posted that he cut off his son's dreadlocks, and he was not okay after that. And people started now commenting and telling him, did you talk to him first? Did you ask him first? So do children have boundaries, and do you need to ask consent from your child? Your child. The word is your child.
You're putting me on the spotlight. My child. Now, different families have very different set of values. You know, what runs in my family is not what Dominic and Joy will have, not even in your family. So some of these things need to be looked into very differently so that you understand where each of them is coming from. Because some will tell you the child is defiant, and look at what age did they become defiant, and then trace it back with were there issues at home that were unresolved. So in a particular setting, a family which is where parents are present and they are available in their children's life, they will tell them from the word go that this is what is our family values. This is what we want to see of you up to this age. Now remember, now when they leave the nest, they get now the influence of the world. And at this point, even you, the parent, you're growing with them. So you get to understand when things are changing for them and when to let loose, you know, of whatever it is. Because if you're imparting the values, they're not in the hair, whatever they're doing, probably now they have taken into a profession or a career that this is what is the in thing for today. But more often than not, even the Bible says that you train the child the way they should go, and when they grow up, they'll not depart from it. You'll not even the children who get to be wayward, you know, for quote unquote, somehow they remember the foundation they had. So when you see big problems, it means probably also there was a challenge with the parenting. That the parents did not put very good systems from the word go, so everything goes. So you're there, license fair. So whatever you want to do, you can do. But then one day you realize, this one should not be happening. Now it comes in too late now. You and the child are not understanding each other because you're not getting into loggerheads because this is not it. But now from the word go, if it is well established, there's a structure, there's what we expect of you, there's feedback, there's time you interact, you listen to each other, and of course the authority figure sometimes will carry the day, then that way they understand where they should go. Over time now the parent also, if they have awareness, they will allow some of the things. So again now if this comes to a counseling setup, we'll try and evaluate the family dynamics that could have caused this particular issue. Should a parent ask for permission? Yes, that doesn't mean that your level of, authority is going to be undermined. But again, it also depends on what you permission for. So you want to start engaging in sexual activity, are you going to have that conversation? No, those are not some of the things that we are going to interact and talk about. There are things that you are saying, yes, okay, so why? We evaluate and see, so what are the pros and cons? Which one weighs more? Then as a parent, I give you the direction, I give you the guidance. Even if you will go and do kidogo out of agreed, somehow you remember, because if you go wrong, you'll come and be like, we had agreed. So again, when you're too strict, they test those boundaries. When you're too strict, they test those boundaries. But when you're agreeing, they will go, and when it doesn't work, they know they can always. So give children an opportunity to be able to come back to you so that they do not now use their peers to seek advice from, and now they become rebellious. All of you are having challenges, and the next thing they are dragging you to a counselor. Ongelesha huyu, this one is having a problem, and you're thinking, so where do I start? Should I have started with them or you? Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. Yes. Sure.
Nancy has said.
Yes.
When it comes to boundaries, it's a very interesting space.
Yes.
Because boundaries are not around just one thing. They need to actually see that you have boundaries within the family setup.
Yes.
And boundaries in the family setup are they're enhanced when people have a structure, what we can call our family rules.
Yes.
This is what we do as a family.
Yes.
So even the language matters. When you start introducing boundaries at an early age, you say, in our family, we don't do this.
Right.
In our family, we do this.
Yes.
And constantly keep checking.
Yes.
Do they understand boundaries in that sense? So that gradually you can introduce then the word no and help them understand that no is also an answer. How? Then you start, helping them understand the parameters around no, when you can say no and it is respected.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, thank you. Yes, please.
Also because, as Joy has said, is that we want to set these rules for the family, but you can't set rules and the person to guide them is not there. The question you had asked earlier, how much time is enough? So somebody needs to be checking that we are actually within what we set. If you write them on that board and you leave, who is going to enforce them? So it's not about a written rule. It's about influencing the children to understand, so that when you're saying no, as she's saying, it is coming from a basis, not a written document that say, go and refer what we said. This has been our conversation. This has been what we say it is supposed to be. When did this change? Now, at that point, you'll understand each other. But if you know you're not present, it will give you a challenge.
Kamau.
I feel like I'm the only one who was not present. So.
Yes, please. You'd like to add something?
Oh, okay. Yes, just a little.
Boundaries
there is,
and, yeah.
There is 4 kind of parenting styles we have.
Yes.
So we have authoritarian parenting, which tends to be in collectivist countries, where collectivist is African, South American, Asian, where there's very tight units, extended families.
Yes.
You know what you're speaking about? Black tax.
Yes.
Black tax is that tendency, as you asked the last question, of your relatives to expect something from you because you've grown up. We call it, it's called the black tax. So in individualist countries, the Western countries, that's not so much. So authoritarian parenting is very, very strong in collectivist countries.
Yes.
Where these are the rules. I'm your mother. Very few compliments. I tell parents, compliment your child, and they're like, what if they get proud? I'm like, you're not complimenting them for nothing.
Guy.
It's not like you just walk in and say, hey, great.
Yeah.
What? So, so authoritarian. The other side is there is authoritative.
Okay.
Authoritative is a balance now between the demands you give and the support you give. Authoritarian is only demand, no support. Then we have permissive. Permissive is no demands, no support. And then we have neglectful, where you're not even involved at all in any way. So permissive, is high support, low demands. And neglectful is no demands, no support. So a parent has to balance between high demands of discipline and academics or whatever it is that you are demanding. They have to be clear and have to be high.
Yes.
But the support has to be equivalent. Okay?
Yeah.
So usually what happens is a number of parents have one of them either too high, another, and the balance is lost.
Yes.
So just to add in addition to what they have very smartly.
Right. As we conclude, because we've talked about it and we have said we need to be more intentional, we'll start with you, Kamau. Very briefly, 2 minutes each. What is intentional parenting?
Okay. So intentional parenting says this. It has, I would say, it first of all takes care of the regulation of the child. So the regulation, I take care of my child to ensure that the child is well regulated from the physical needs perspective, from the emotional needs perspective.
Yes.
Okay. And then I create, the second R is relationship.
Yes.
So my child is regulated. Number 2, I have a relationship with the child.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number 2, I can reason with the child. That's what I would say intentional parenting. Oftentimes what happens is you have a parent who wants to reason with the child. Why did you do that? Asking the question of why.
Yeah.
Without a pre-existing relationship and without asking, is my child well regulated? Okay.
Yes.
So you are jumping the rope to reasoning without a relationship.
Yes.
You know, it's like someone walking up to you and telling you, I don't like the way you do something. And you're like, who are you? You know, you're asking the question, do we have a relationship? That's the question you're asking, right? So I would say those 3 R's would kind of manifest what would be intentional parenting. Regulate, relationship, and reason.
All right. Thank you. Joy, briefly, what is intentional parenting as we wind up?
I would describe intentional parenting, adding up to what Mr. Kamau has said, that intentional parenting is not just provision.
Yes.
It is emotional, psychological, social, relational support to the child. To make sure that they come out as a balanced human being.
Right.
As they go out into the world.
Right.
Yes.
Not just provision.
And I forgot spiritual.
Spiritual.
Which is key.
Yes.
Actually.
Thank you.
Main.
Nancy, what is intentional parenting?
Sometimes those parents who do intentional parenting, they'll tell you they're helicopter parents. So they are within the space of the child. They can tell when things are going out of hand. They can tell today you are moody and you didn't want to talk to us. So somehow you are fine-tuned with your children, with your family, with the things that are happening. You're trying to get a balance between your work life, career, being a parent and everything else. You're trying to find a space for them, and that way you're not caught by surprise. Even if it happens, you'll say, well, I missed something there, but I understand. So it is always that this is a space that I understand. You and your child can sit and have a conversation. Even when things happen out there, they know as much as you're going to be angry, you're present to listen.
Thank you. Unfortunately, because of time, we cannot go on, but I think we have not exhausted. We've not even talked about it all. We will plan and do another session. I'd like to give the audience 1 or 2 people who might have a question, a compliment. If you like my hair, just say, don't be shy.
Yes. Thank you so much for this. This has been very educational.
Thank you.
I just compliment Sid and Chiba. I was very just sharing their own life story. It's not easy. And I just want to thank the panelists also for coming to the show and just answering those questions.
Thank you.
Just something as a question put together. How do we protect our children from these so-called caregivers? Especially not even the domestic managers, as you put it, but the relatives. We trust them, we leave them with our children, but these are people who can prey on the children. How do we protect them from that? Because that would end up being what we're talking about as child trauma.
Yes.
Maybe that can just be touched on a little bit. Thank you.
Okay. Who will take that?
You know, interestingly, only 10% of strangers abuse children, by the way. 10%. 90% is people they know, relatives, you know. So oftentimes the risk, in my perspective, you've got to do is to risk with the child, to have that conversation. So there is that song, allow me to stand camera, people. So there is that song that we teach little children. You say, these are my private parts, private parts, private parts. These are my private parts. No one should see them. No one should touch them. So when you teach a song as practical as that, then the child kind of knows that my uncle should not touch me in this way, should not show me this kind of stuff, you know. And so because of the world we are living in, it's better to have that conversation, because you won't have a conversation with every one of your cousin or every one of your. So the best thing you can do is to equip the child to know what boundaries are, that now, other than the doctor or mom, nobody should touch you in these places like that, or put you in their lap like this, you know, or show you this kind of stuff.
Okay. Probably just to add on to the comment, that it is so important to help children, train them in life skills, train them in self-awareness. As he has sung that song, it's also talking about self-awareness, knowing my body. So why is this private? Why can it not be touched? Okay? Then you can graduate that progressively with the developmental stage of the child. You can graduate that to more information, open them up to understand that is a bad choice and that is a good choice. So somebody putting me there, they are endangering me. So they start to process, because you're also working with their brain and helping them understand what is good for them. So they are widening the scope of understanding progressively. Yes.
Thank you for this talk. Yes. My name is Coco. Being a teenager, and not teenager, I mean a youth, I've had the conversation at the beginning saying that many people who go through trauma are the firstborns. So finding that the parents, this is the first child they brought into the world, that it's like their training. So there's the character, there's the personality and education. So maybe the parent didn't get education in that area. Personality yake haikubali accept some things, or the character, like akona hiyo character ya kukasirika. So like how can the parent know to address such an issue with the first born child without going through the training and like ndo anaanza? Yeah, that's my question. That first step, yeah, personality and education to your awareness in the trauma area.
Let me try and respond to that one. Coco? Oh, good. Coco, it will be a little difficult to begin that conversation, probably, with a parent because of the mindset. Because they're already stuck and in the way they think and how they see things. So bringing them to a place where they are going to accept that they have actually been traumatizing you would mean you're sending them very far away from you. In fact, it would mean that that relationship can even break, right? So first it is to get the enlightenment yourself, healing from the trauma yourself, accepting, because when you stand from a side where you are clear of the pain, then you'll be able to see them from a side that they were raising you with the only information they had at the time. That's all they knew, okay? And in some cases, it will mean you will have to forgive them. And if you graduate that further, it may mean wisdom, that you are going to let that go. But if there is need for you to address it, you may need some help also with somebody who can be trusted, so that you can sit down and say what you feel. Chances are that you can also bring out what you actually feel and they tell you, how can you tell me that? I'm your father, all right? So they refuse to accept. So your place is, in this case, I do not like what happened. I'm not telling you because I want you to accept it. I'm saying because I need to be with myself. And I need to move on from now. I think that would be my response on that one.
Yeah, just a quick, just an addition to that. I also feel like the problem is very, very structural in the sense that it is social. You know, there are some issues that it's very difficult to ask a parent to resolve if the problem extends beyond them. So, let's say, think of just a simple thing as traffic. A parent needs to wake up early to be in time for work, okay, so that they can fend for the children, okay, and they have to beat traffic as they're heading to work. Go to work they don't like very much, okay, and they're paid badly with a bad boss, okay, and on top of that, they have to hit traffic on the way back, okay, and this parent who is coming to take care of the child is a highly dysregulated parent of no fault of their own. Okay? And that's why it's very difficult to distinguish between mental health and social justice. Right? Because the word economy, in fact, comes from home management. Before it becomes economy of a country, it's home management, the root word of it. So the problem that comes, I feel, is sometimes there is issues of justice from a social perspective that are boiling to the family. And if we do not resolve the social structures themselves, it becomes unimaginable, or I would say insensitive, to ask a parent to be a better parent where the parents themselves need to be loved and cared and helped. That's what I think about that.
I'd like to thank the panelists again. I've really enjoyed the show.
Thank you.
I had one question for Mr. Kamau. When you talk about a traumatized child having a smaller brain, and I have I'm experiencing one with that kind of a trauma, and it brought a lot of light when it comes to is it emotionally they may act a
Yes.
certain level?
Right.
Is there any way they would overcompensate in the sense that they are very skillful in other aspects, probably socially very, very keen? Their social skills are in a way very advanced, but when it comes to some type of behavior, then they tend to be childlike. So you get so confused in the sense that I thought, okay, we are about 11, but certain ways you act like a real child, but other times you overcompensate,
Right.
and you are right on time. And how do you then guide such a one? I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, yeah, you are. Okay, so what you're mentioning is what we might call splintered development. Splintered. So what happens is sometimes parents can focus on one particular area of development, or the immediate environment of the child helps the child to enact certain skills at the expense of others. So take, for example, many parents will focus on the development of the child so much academically, right, such that the child is coming home with an A, B, but they don't know how to control the emotions. Okay, they don't have social skills. So that we call splintered development. And what is happening here? It's possible that the child was exposed to certain social skills very, very highly at the detriment of others. So today we know very well that if you expose children below 2 years to the screen, their language goes badly. You know, they're very poor. The language on average goes lower. Their IQ is affected. Their concentration is affected. So pediatricians, in fact, would propose that for children below 2 years, zero screen completely. Now, what happens when the child, when you, as a mother, you are so tired, you want to work, you want to cook, so you put the child in front of the TV so that you can cook. But what you're doing is the child is going to lack motor skills. Motor skills means to be able to work out with their hands. And they're only going to want those highly stimulating, colorful images of the screen. So that could be some of the causes that are possible. Number two, I would say quickly is, you might want to see maybe a psychiatrist or clinical psychologist to be able to work out if there's a developmental disorder. Okay? Because it's possible that your child could be having a developmental disorder and you want to rule that out. Okay? What could it be? So once you rule out that that is not the case, then you can know what are some of the environmental things that you can do to help the child figure out whatever is lacking.
Thank you. Anyone else with a burning question or compliment? Nancy, would you like to say something?
I want to mention something that Joy mentioned and Dominic about when you're having issues and about forgiveness, because this is where most people have a challenge with the child trauma. I will never forgive them. They have held it in their heart that I'm never letting go. We will survive, we will live, but I will never forgive. The other thing also, before I just go to that, I think my mind has two things I really needed to say, is that we need to realize that childhood trauma is not about the parenting part only. Childhood trauma could be because of abuse, which is physical, emotional, or otherwise. It could be neglect, where you're not providing basic needs. So physically, you're neglected, emotionally, you're neglected, no one is giving you love that you need. They're also because of those people or children who grow in families that are violent, so there's domestic violence, or one of the parents got arrested, is in prison, what you call incarcerated parents, so they're never there because they did something or they never did it. Also, we could have those people who are born of families where parents are mentally challenged. They have a mental health illness which cannot be resolved, and they have to parent you anyway because they begot you. And the other one is it has disappeared. But now let me go to the forgiveness. When people go through a lot of this trauma, they decide, you did this because you knew and you did not do anything to do. I will also not forgive you. Now, you need to start healing. And like Coco was asking, because we are saying because of the social, cultural issues that stop us from being able to address some of the things, when you have awareness, work on yourself so that you start letting go. First, accept that, yes, I went through this. So once you start accepting now, that it's a way to now working on it, and processing it and letting it go. Letting it go does not mean that you still don't acknowledge it happened to you. We are not saying that forgive and then be whatever about it. Yes, you're just saying, it is about me. I don't want my past to keep holding me in the past. I need now to start controlling what is happening in my presence so that I also work on the things that I don't want to pass on. Remember, if you keep holding it, you're going to be a parent at one point. You also don't want to keep passing it to your next generation. It becomes a cycle. So you can do what is called exoneration. Nimekusamehe. I mean, let God deal with you. Depending also with your personality type. Let people be forgiven, just, whatever happens. Others, you can give conditioned forgiveness. These are people you know and they know you, and you tell them, you know what, it's not going to end that easy. I will give you a few conditions that must be met. So that, in fact, usually when there's conditioned forgiveness, there's even room for discussion, and you get to forgive these people and let it go, because you also don't want them to perpetuate or cause this to someone else, because you let them go, they will prey on your cousin or your next relative. So you also want to make sure that you're putting them on condition that, yes, this is going to be forgiven on this. And the other one is, you can also have the forced forgiveness. The one you're forced by people. When you report, like Mr. William was asking, how should we help? If your child now comes with all this help and they come and tell you something is doing something that is not right to me, and you don't believe them, the next thing you force them. Because this is a family, you utatuaibisha. We have to deal with this thing here and now. So you let it go. So you let people, you say, now have you forgiven them? So have you forgiven them? So ikitu hatutaisikia tena. So what you're doing, you're making people do what we call false forgiveness. The feelings, the heart, the pain, and the emotions are still very there. So this is a wrong way to go about forgiveness. Don't force your kids. In fact, always choose your kids. If anything is happening to them, do not abandon them. Because of a relationship you are in, you're saying, wewe ulikuwa unaenda kufanya huko nini? You remember we said the questions of why. What were you doing there? What was the adult doing there? I thought the adult should have thought it better. So don't put it on your child. Be there to listen, to walk with them. Do not be the one causing them stigma and shame. They already have the impact of the person who did whatever they did to them. So be the person who is kinder to them and give them a platform to be able to express themselves.
Wow, I think we'll come to a close, and thank you very, very much for being a part of this conversation. We will be having more conversations every night, and keep asking the questions you're asking on social media, on email, and we will keep addressing them when we can. I would like panel to say a quick parting shot, and also for someone who'd want support, that is mentally, the therapy, where can they find you?
So my parting shot is focused on school setups. It is so important that schools become intentional, and I probably would challenge the government on this one. I know many challenges have gone to the government on this one, but very soon we'll have our election, so I'm believing the next government would look at this one intentionally, that they set up spaces for counselors in schools. And these counselors should not be a counselor and a maths teacher.
Right.
So that during a maths lesson, they just decide it is time to shame this child because of what they came to tell me. They should also have a room that is clearly labeled counseling room.
Yes.
And there should be a there should be freedom to go and walk into that room, and everything you say in there stays in there. It shall not be discussed in the staff room. It will not be brought forward to the head teachers.
Right.
We are saying safe spaces for children. And I'm talking about, we do have these spaces in many international schools, but we don't have those spaces for local schools.
Yeah.
So we want to campaign for that.
Yes.
That there are spaces where children can find places to talk and share what they feel.
Wow.
Yes, that's my parting shot
Thank you,
and
Joy.
a challenge.
Yes.
So for now, I will request that through your handle, they can contact me.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been given the mandate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Just a quick one. So sometimes the trauma you've gone through can feel like Goliath.
Yeah.
Yes. And you are David. Right. So I think the thing to understand is to accept that whatever you're facing is not a joke.
Yes.
To treat yourself compassionately, but also to believe that you can face it and you can win. There is something Glovu says, and I think that was powerful, that if someone hurts you, every time they speak to you,
you are somehow giving them your power. That means they have control over you.
Over you, yeah.
And so one of the things you want to do is give them a red card and say, I'm going to take my power back. So
yes.
don't allow your past to control your future.
Right, right.
Do not allow the people who hurt you to deny you the chance to love and to be loved and to experience the beauty of life.
Yes.
I think that's what I just wanted to mention.
Right.
And so to get in contact with me on my social media is at I am Kamau Mwangi, at I am Kamau Mwangi.
Right.
Or you can go to my website, kamaumwangi.co.ke, and contact me from there. I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Kamau. Nancy, parting shot.
Thank you very much. Mine will be a phrase that it's through your wound that the light enters. Whatever it is that you have gone through, the beginning of you healing is allowing that wound, use it for transformation. Do not destroy yourself by being a victim of the past. Allow yourself a transformation today, an impact on the next generation. Claim back. Dominic said, take back your power. Give your story in your way. Don't let them give your story in a different way. It will not be the same. At My Afia Africa, we have forums for teens, and if you want to join us every holiday, we usually hold forums for them to teach, to train, to listen to them, and also help the issues that probably you're not being able to address with them. And also we do wellness programs for corporates. So you can reach us on My Afia Africa, that is our website. And also we are present on Twitter, on Instagram, and Facebook as still as My Afia Africa. And our contacts will be provided.
Sure.
And thank you very much, even for hosting us. We appreciate that. We hope we have impacted our life. It is through your wound that the light enters you.
Right. Asante sana, and thank you so much for being a part of this. My name is Auntie Jemima. Keep sharing, keep talking. Let us be intentional in parenting, in living. This has been the Talk Corner. I'll see you guys next Friday here at Auntie Jemima.